1-1 on game lines last week. No luck on our TD scorer of Gibbs. So we're looking for another bounce back. Have 3 spread picks this week instead of 2. They are all high value. Little caveat here. We do have a pretty high projection on the Browns to cover, but just figured it would be in our best interest to not take a team starting a quarterback for the first time. If you want to bet that, go ahead, but we're not going to make it an official play for the sake of that. I'll pull these up, all 3 of these here, and we'll get into these. So Cardinals 2.5 is a pretty interesting one because we talked about this on Tuesday's show, and we talked about getting it out to 3 or 3.5. And last night, I posted on our socials that clip we talked about because it did, in fact, move to +3. And our probability was up to 61%, just around where we predicted it would be in that scenario on Tuesday. It's back down to 2.5. You might be able to get it at 3. This just says to me the line is bouncing around a bit. So all the more reason I think it's worth buying that point. Like it was before, it's +100 on the spread. So the tax to get that extra half or full point is pretty negligible for your odds anyway. And you're still going to get the value based on the model's projection. One thing that I find not interesting, but pretty key is that no Marvin Harrison Jr. once again in this one. He has been ruled out already, which I think was probably obvious given he had appendicitis surgery, and that seems like a tough thing to come back from just a week later. Meanwhile, Brian Thomas Jr. on the other side could be back for the Jaguars after missing the past 2 games. So one team getting a little healthier, one team still missing a key piece. Just 2 touchdowns this season for Brian Thomas Jr. Only 2 games over 55 yards, though. So you're not exactly saying he's giving the Jags a super boost. Obviously, his presence is important, but wasn't exactly lighting it up before. Projected final score, 24-23 for the Jags. So puts the Cardinals in upset territory as well. 44% probability there. A little bit of an edge at +140. And as we talked about on Tuesday, it's just hard to be confident in this Jaguars team right now. You can say the same thing about the Cardinals, but this is a really strong probability in what feels like a coin flip game. So if you're looking for any sort of data edge, the model is telling you here it's with the Cardinals 2.5.
Yep. I'm in. Fade the Jags. I don't need anything other than that right now. I'm out on that team with how they've been week to week. So Arizona, good spot here for me. Let's go down this list. So it would be Cincinnati that is next here. Bengals catching 6.5 against the Pats. Very high probability at 57% here.
Yep. So this is one I debated putting in here, but I didn't want to fade the model's probability and high value since it was right alongside with the others. And I think it is a decent spot. Obviously, we talked about this one earlier with the Joe Burrow segment, so not a ton more to discuss. But I just think this is a good play, good probability from the model. The offense has plenty of upside, even with Jamar Chase out. We know this. We've seen the skill position players do work. During this 8-game win streak by the Patriots, these are the teams that they've beaten by at least a touchdown. Panthers, and that's the week 4 Panthers, mind you, not the Panthers as of late. The Titans, the Browns, and the Jets. Anything resembling a good offense has covered this number. The Bucs, the Falcons, the Bills, plus the Saints. They're a good team that just doesn't slam the door shut on decent teams. The Bengals are our only underdog money line this week with a high value signal, 32% upset probability, plus 365 or 265. 4.4% edge. I'm not saying to go and do that, but I'm saying the model is very much in favor of the Bengals holding a close game here. And the trends for the Patriots suggest that they aren't going to run away with this game in which there are a number of good skill possession players, even with Jamar Chase out. Pretty short pitch here, but I like this bet, and I like it even more if Burrow plays. Kind of wonder what the line will be if Burrow plays.
You know, I'm glad you ended the way you just ended that. You like this even more if Joe Burrow plays. It sounds blasphemous to say that. I get why. I mean, he has a reputation as one of the 3 best quarterbacks in the entire league, but let's also not forget Joe Burrow has been the quarterback of a lot of Bengals losses throughout the years.
Mm-hmm.
Just having Joe Burrow is not necessarily, I don't know, a guarantee to something great. But yeah, I think, I don't know, having him back this week, though, just to me, regardless of what the history has been, is going to be such an emotional boost. Like this year, he only started in 2 games since he won both of those games. It doesn't matter what happened last year when they were a completely different team. Like there's reason to believe just the presence alone could be enough to power this team through. So I'm into this. I also think when you look at the Pats, as good as they've been, doesn't it just feel like they're like the one team that's due for a loss?
Yeah, absolutely. For pretty much all the reasons I've said and we've talked about for a couple weeks here, like they're not beating division winners. Their good teams are at least keeping it close. Yeah, something's got to break for this team eventually. This team's not going to go 15-2. 8-game win streak here. There's got to be something coming.
Yeah, the head scratching what just happened game. I feel like it bites every good NFL team at least once. And yeah, I don't know. I look at Cincinnati again. If Burrow's back, it makes this a much more fun play. But kind of what I was very poorly verbalizing there is even if he doesn't play, I don't think it necessarily swings this game one way or the other in a crazy fashion for Cincy. So I see the value. Our model sees the value too. I like Cincy. I'm glad you kept that on the card. One more this week, and it's your boys, the Cowboys.
It is my boys. We'll be rooting for my boys extra hard in this one. However, if you didn't get this early, we are on the wrong side of a little bit of line movement. It was 3.5 on Tuesday, but still a solid 57% probability here, 6.5% edge, just slightly down from what I believe was 58 and change on Tuesday. Not much to go over here since we talked about it and nothing's really changed, but we will lock it in as a best bet of the week. Cowboys defense, got to say it looks a little bit better. It was the Raiders last week, and I got to see some more sample size, more action, but they got a ton of players back with Overshawn, Malik Hooker, plus the additions of Quinnen Williams and Logan Wilson, like immediately made an impact. Like Quinnen Williams got a sack. He's not even a big sack guy, but he unlocked the rest of that line. There were so many pressures getting generated across the defensive front, and it's going to give the Cowboys a little bit of a different look, I think, on defense. Their coverage is so bad for the most part that getting pressure is pretty much their best chance at like secondary coverage, if that makes sense. The way you get a coverage sack, that's basically what they need to do to get coverage incompletions. But this will be the best version of the defense they tried out all year. So I'm feeling more confident about this than I would have 2 weeks ago. The overs dropped a point from 48.5 to 47.5. Model's 50-50 on that. I don't think a big, thing to worry about there. Either side that you're on. The Eagles defense, pretty good as far as passing going. Only 9 passing TDs, but they are still ranked middle of the league. They give up a good bit of yards. It's going to be hard to shut down the duo of CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens. It's one of the best there is in the NFL. If one of them is, since they've both been healthy and in the game, if one of them isn't covered, the other one is wide open. I saw multiple times in that game, George Pickens just like standing there with no one around him because they're sending 2 defenders up the field to cover CeeDee Lamb. And if it happens the other way around, you got CeeDee Lamb. Both guys are incredible yards after the catch guys. Probably going to be some big games in play for either of them. 78 yards and a 41% TD for Lamb, 69 yards and 37% for Pickens. So both pretty solid games, pretty similar range. And yeah, as I said, the key is going to be pressure, but really both sides. If the Eagles want to keep Pickens and Lamb from doing work, they're going to need pressure on Dak. They're going to need him to scramble, to throw erratically, and get some sacks, because I just don't think they're going to shut down those two on their own.
Yep. Yeah. Makes sense. Cowboys underdogs. It's been just a bankroll builder all season long for the most part. So that should be a very highly entertaining game. Not to spoil my personal play this week, but I'll be backing something in the Cowboys-Eagles game as well. More to come at the end of the show. There you have it, folks. 3 underdogs. Cowboys plus 2.5. Bengals plus 6.5. Cowboys plus 3. Go ahead and take it, folks. Let's do it this week. There are our best bets for week 12. Make sure you subscribe or sign up for, that's the better word, sign up for Dimers Pro. Podcast is the promo code that you need. You can get 50% off of Dimers Pro. You can get these insights in real time all season long. We've got probabilities, edges for every single game in the NFL, every single game in every sport that you could be betting, player props, and more. Go check it out. Make sure you don't miss it.